Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter, and in this video, I'm going to go through some of the key differences and similarities between two very popular cameras from Canon. Firstly, the brand new Canon SL2 or 200D, and last year's very popular camera, the Canon T7i or 800D. And guys, if you want to win a Canon SL2 or Nikon D3400, I'm currently giving one away. All you need to do to enter is subscribe to this channel and my brand new travel channel, which I'll link in the description box below. And also guys, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely make sure to check out my brand new list that I just made, the best cameras for video. I go through some of the cameras that would be best for you. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description box below this video and you can take a look. But anyway, let's compare these two cameras from Canon. Now I want to start out this comparison by first talking about the frame rates or the burst mode of both of these cameras. Now the Canon SL2, which was just come out very recently, can shoot at around about 5 frames per second. Whereas the Canon T7i, which came out last year, can shoot at 6 frames per second. Now both of these are actually very respectable for cameras under $1,000, as many others are still shooting at about 3 frames per second. Now to be totally honest, the difference isn't huge, and for most people, 5 or 6 frames per second is going to be more than enough. Now if you do shoot a lot of sports or wildlife though, where that speed is really critical and you're not always sure if you're going to be able to get that exact shot, having that 6 frames per second on the Canon T7i might be important for you. By the way guys, let me know in the comments below, which camera do you think is better, the Canon SL2 or the Canon T7i? And I'll take a look at your comments. To me though, one of the biggest reasons why you might choose the Canon SL2 over the T7i, other than its price of course, is its size. It's absolutely tiny. The SL2 is one of the smallest DSLRs on the market in fact, and I've found it's amazing for travel and day-to-day shooting. The T7i is also a pretty small DSLR as well, especially if you compare it up with cameras like the Canon 70D or 80D, you really do feel a difference with the body size between these two cameras. In terms of weight, the SL2 is about 79 grams lighter than the T7i. So if you are looking for the smallest traditional sized and styled DSLR, the Canon SL2 will be the way to go. Now if we turn these two cameras around, you're going to notice that they look pretty similar. And that's because they both include fully articulating screens. Essentially though, these allow you to flip the screens out, and you can also flip them down or up, or you can even flip them all the way to the front, which is great if you want to be filming yourself. Overall though, there's not a huge difference between the two, so both of them are great. And speaking about those screens, both the Canon SL2 and the T7i are both touchscreens. Now, if you're coming from a smartphone, you'll really appreciate this, as it allows you to easily change your settings or your focus point by simply touching on the screen. And that's really one of the reasons why I love these touchscreens. On both the Canon T7i and the Canon SL2, all you need to do is a very light tap on the back of the screen, and wherever you touch will smoothly and cinematically come into focus. It's really fantastic. Now let's quickly talk about battery life on both of these cameras. And interestingly enough, I actually found that the battery life on the smaller Canon SL2 was slightly better than the Canon T7i. Now, if you watched my full review of the SL2, you'll know that I wasn't super impressed with its battery life in video mode, but it's not bad in stills mode. Overall, I was probably getting about 680 shots on the Canon SL2, and on the T7i, I was probably getting about 650. So both should perform pretty well, but it's always a good idea to get a couple of spare batteries as well. Let's talk about autofocus in stills mode, and this is where I found that the Canon T7i was really very impressive. The Canon SL2 has 9 autofocus points, with one being cross type, which for a beginner is generally going to be more than enough. But on the other hand, the Canon T7i has 45 autofocus points. More importantly though, these are all cross type autofocus points, which I found delivered very accurate and snappy performance. Again, if you do need that really fast and really accurate autofocus, the Canon T7i for things like sports and wildlife is going to be the better bet. The Canon SL2 is going to work for general day-to-day shooting though. Of course, one of the biggest new upgrades on the Canon SL2 is really what makes it a very strong competitor to the Canon T7i, and that's the new inclusion of dual pixel autofocus. So the SL2 got an upgrade to dual pixel autofocus, which is actually found in much more expensive cameras such as the Canon 80D, the 7D Mark II, the Canon 5D Mark IV, and of course the Canon T7i. With dual pixel autofocus, wherever you point your camera, it's smoothly and cinematically going to come into focus. It really is so easy to use. And if you pair that up with the touchscreen, you can simply touch on the screen on whatever you want to be in focus, and it will do all the focusing work for you. Overall, I found that it works essentially the same on both the Canon T7i and the SL2, which is brilliant considering that the SL2 is still quite a cheaper camera. But either way, these are both autofocusing powerhouses and they perform better than a lot of other cameras at a lot higher prices in autofocus. So they're both going to be really good for video. So the big question is, which one should you buy and which one's going to be better for you? Well, both cameras are brilliant and they're a big step up from traditional budget cameras from Canon, which were always lacking, especially in that kind of sub $800 price range. For me, the Canon T7i is still the better camera. Its stills autofocus performance is brilliant, but on the other hand, the Canon SL2 is an absolute winner. And for most people, it'll be a perfect beginner to intermediate camera. I'd actually recommend both of these cameras. Whichever one you're going to choose, they're going to be very, very good. And also guys, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely make sure to check out my brand new list that I just made, the best cameras for video. I go through some of the cameras that would be best for you. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description box below this video and you can take a look. So I hope I was able to help you just a little bit in figuring out which camera might be better for you. Hope you guys have a fantastic day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.